show for all your latest UFC news and rumors. It's Brian Coyle. It's Sean Stanley. It's the TFM Live podcast. And it's now.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the latest edition of TFM Live, the official podcast of FullMountMMA.com. Happy holidays to you and yours. Sean, it's almost Christmas, and the UFC has delivered some stellar presents the past couple weeks. And I worked hard, came up 10 minutes before the show, I came up with that metaphor, so hopefully it landed perfectly. Apparently my Donald Cerrone prediction was completely wrong.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Utterly and completely wrong, because he got knocked out within, 66 seconds?
Yeah, I believe it was 53 seconds longer than Aldo, right? Yeah,
so... where do you want to start here? Because Cowboy, who looked so good the past, 8 fights, mowing through people, just gets stopped immediately by Dos Anjos here in the main event of the latest UFC on Fox card.
I mean, I don't even know where to start. Honestly, all these things, do we start with the undercard, the semi-main event? That was for a UFC on Fox card, that was not that any card on UFC Fox has been very bad, but that one exceeded a little bit of my expectations, I guess.
Yeah, I was surprised. We could start with the main event. Let's just start at the top, because I think there's more interesting stuff as we go down the card. Lightweight champion Rafael dos Anjos stopped Donald Cerrone, like we said, in 66 seconds. And honestly, there really wasn't much of a fight to break down here. Nope. He kind of just went off on him, hit a vicious left knee into his body. Cerrone kind of hunched over. He kicked him a couple times. And Cowboy didn't get anything in. And it was so weird, because leading up to the fight, Cowboy's always been a guy who's I don't care about the belt. I just want to keep fighting. I want to just keep making money, blah, 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 all that stuff. But now he just didn't really do much. And
he didn't show up. Honestly, he didn't even show up for the fight. That's I think the worst part about it is he didn't even show up.
He said himself, it's sometimes you don't show up for work.
Yep.
He didn't make an excuse. He was just bad, plain and simple. And the whole big deal about Dos Anjos was people were thinking, how would he make weight with the IV ban? He's a huge guy. People were saying that camp had a run of guys that were losing in their first fights back, but he just came out and literally took care of him quickly. He's the clear number one in 155 pounds. Despite, if you ask Nick Diaz, he'll tell you something.
Yeah, I think he's got a different idea.
Oh, yeah, Nate Diaz, you'll tell him something very, very, very different, which we'll get to in a little bit. But Dos Anjos is the guy, plain and simple. There's nobody that can touch him at lightweight at the moment. Even though I'd love to see Pettis get an opportunity at him, but with the way he kind of put Cowboy out.
Yeah, kind of cemented him atop that division.
Yeah, and he called out McGregor, as, trust me, that will be a theme here from the night.
You will hear that again during this podcast.
Yeah, and you can look it up right now on the FullMountMMA.com. We have a story about all of the UFC fighters that just called out Conor McGregor.
Was there anybody that didn't, honestly, though?
I think Overeem didn't call out Conor McGregor.
Oh, okay.
That's the only guy who didn't. Because you got Charles Oliveira, who missed weight by 5 pounds, calling him out, which was fun. Nate Diaz and Dos Anjos. Dos Anjos didn't really call him out, but saying, Mr. McGregor, if you want to come to my division, this is my division. You better stay featherweight. I will fight you in Brazil. I will go to Ireland to face you. Win is Dos Anjos' 5th straight. He's 25-7 overall. Cerrone, of course, had won 8 straight up to that point and just got absolutely rocked. So he calls him out. He dominates. Another lightweight did pretty well too, and you probably heard about it because he told you about it. But if you would watch the Fox card, you probably didn't hear any of it because it was so profanity laced.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I thought I was watching Eddie Murphy Raw.
Yeah, it was basically just bleep, 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 dropped audio, bleep, dropped audio, Like, I can't even read what the rant actually was without like sounding like the conversation between us is breaking up right now.
Yeah.
He basically said Nate Diaz, after his big win over Michael Johnson, where, I mean, that was probably the most fun fight of the night. They were going at it, and he looked really, really, really strong.
Yep. And I think Joe Rogan said it the best. He's like, that's probably the best I've seen you look in a UFC octagon.
I would absolutely agree with that. He said, Conor McGregor, you're taking everything I worked for, mother bleep. I'm going to fight your bleeping ass. You know at the real fight, you know it's the money fight, me, not these clowns that you already punked on at the press conferences. Nobody wants to see that. You know you can beat them. It's an easy fight. You want the real bleep right here. He also said that somebody in the UFC told him he's got the McGregor fight.
Yeah, there's a matchmaker. I heard rumors that it's a matchmaker. I'm not sure who that is, but
So that's Nate Diaz saying, I'm going to put this out there and I want to see what happens. Because if the UFC is going to come out and flat deny it, because then he's playing the McGregor card.
Yeah, but that's what they do, though, right? The Diaz brothers. It's kind of like what they do.
Yeah, if you could sum them up pretty much.
Yeah, they make the first move, and then it's like, now you got to outmove us. You got to outflank us. You got to figure out how you're going to get out of this because we're going to put it right in your face.
Mm-hmm. Well, for me, Nate Diaz's next fight is Cowboy. Or Showtime Pettis or Eddie Alvarez winner, essentially. That's where Nate Diaz belongs at the moment, because he does not belong. He doesn't deserve a title shot yet. But he beats one of those guys. You could talk me into a Nate Diaz title shot easily at this point. But yeah, Cowboy needs to get back on the horse right after that. And maybe it was the waiting so long, because I remember way back when we were first in the infancy of this site, we wrote a story about Cowboy saying he had to be tied to a chair, essentially, to not fight because he fights so much because he spends so much money. And maybe this little layoff and the build up to like realizing this is an actual title fight kind of threw him off. I mean, and it's also he doesn't fly. He took his RV all the way from Albuquerque to Orlando. I mean, it's a whole bunch of little things, but this was a big moment for him, and he kind of just blew it. And there's no other way to put it.
Yeah, there's definitely I don't see how the UFC can, look, if he had a great fight and came up short, he could still probably be, because he is a polarizing individual, so he's marketable from that standpoint. But after the egg he dropped on this UFC on Fox, I don't know where you go from here.
And also, this just in over Twitter, we're recording this on a Tuesday. I don't know when it will go up, hopefully before Christmas. Somebody stole Nate Diaz's bike.
Oh, yeah, the $50,000 bike. What are you spending that much money on a bike for?
He's a triathlete, which is good.
Oh, no, okay then. All right.
But the bad thing is you stole Nick Diaz's bike, which is not a good idea.
No.
Because, first off, both Diaz's are insane. Second off, that's probably the last people you want chasing after you.
Yeah.
The Diaz brothers. So a lot of stuff going on in the Diaz households.
It's never a dull moment with the Diaz's.
This holiday season. But the real question I want to get out of this, and we'll get to Overeem's, I guess you can call it upset over JDS at that point.
Yeah, I think so.
And then a couple other things we'll talk about. What do you think of the three-man booth as well? I want to get to that with Dominic Cruz coming. I mean, he came in for the fight press prelims, and he did. I mean, the main fight, but I want to talk about that as well. But let's talk about kind of the crux of this episode. It's going to be shorter than usual because of the holiday stuff, but Diaz calls him out. Cowboy would have called him out if he had won.
Yep.
Dos Anjos calls out Conor McGregor. Frankie Edgar has repeatedly called him out, even though he was told he had a title shot on Friday, but lost it on that Saturday of UFC 194 after McGregor absolutely shut down Aldo. Aldo wants a rematch. Max Holloway wants to fight him in Hawaii.
Yep.
which I find the most interesting of all. Hey,
But
besides
Oliveira.
Charles,
Yeah, I was gonna say Oliveira might be the most.
Oliveira, I've missed weight 3 times in the division, but I still want to fight you.
Yeah, why not?
And it wasn't a scale problem because he was 5 pounds over on every scale that they tested. This is, I think, it's always a good thing when people are calling out McGregor, but is it a bad thing for the UFC? Because do they really have control over who Conor fights next?
Well, here's my question now. Do you think they may have a role in this? So they can see, okay, who's going to get the most social media buzz and see what's going on. Let's see where we go from here. I'm starting to think, because look, I can understand, and also look, the fighters are going to want that big money fight because anybody that fights McGregor is probably going to be in for the money. So
Yes.
so let's not sit there and say, oh, it's all probably UFC, because I think all these guys are hoping that, hey, maybe I'll say the something or whatever, because I think they all know McGregor's probably got the ear of the UFC matchmaker. So whoever he wants to fight is probably his next fight.
Yes.
So they're all just sitting here saying, I want you, and then you got the profanity-laced rant from Nate Diaz. Then you got everybody questioning everything, and then you just kind of got Aldo, I want a rematch. You got Mendez, Edgar, calling him out. You've got everybody. I just think they're sitting back, probably going, let's see which one gets the most buzz, and let's see where the money's at. And I guarantee you'll probably see that at. Yeah, you think it's too early to do 200? Or is that too long?
He wants to fight in April. That's what John Kavanaugh said on the MMA Hour. And if they're doing MSG, McGregor's going to be there.
Yeah, I mean, I
think so.
As you start looking at this, though, what do you think the 200 is going to look like? Now, if everybody's wanting to fight so quick and so early, you could have this mammoth UFC 200 card, or you can have an UFC 200 card. Which way do you go because as you said, the MSG card.
That's the question.
That's going to be the big roll of the dice here for how the UFC matchmakers are going to roll this out.
The easy thing is, if you're in Madison Square Garden, you do John Jones, Daniel Cormier, and Frankie Edgar, Conor McGregor. That's the biggest card for that area, especially.
Yeah.
And you put Weidman as that third fight against Jacare or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way you do that April card. Problem is, can John Jones fight on 200 right after fighting in April? Can Conor McGregor fight on 200 right after fighting in April? And do you have, besides Rousey Holm, which we don't know if that's set in stone yet.
I mean, you say can Jones fight but what happens if they lose? Do you got Edgar fighting? Could he fight in 200? If I'm saying if he fought McGregor and won, can he fight the 200? Yeah, there's so many that questions there. I don't know if again, I'm sitting here just looking from the outside. Again, I'm not the ones having to make these decisions, but I vary for which one's going to give us the best money. If they think MSG is where it's at, then you put your eggs in that basket, and then you try to figure out something for 200. Because as you said, if you put those three on that card, I think that might be a bigger draw than what you could probably put together for something at 200.
And the problem is your biggest draw is Conor McGregor, period.
Yep.
Where do you use him? Can you use him in both? Can you take that chance, whether McGregor gets hurt or something along those lines? Do you have enough firepower? There is no returning George St. Pierre. Yeah,
because I think they've missed the boat too with the Rousey Holm thing already. I think that's fallen out of everybody's earshot right now. So I don't even know if you can use that as your.
Could be by design too.
Again, it could be, and they get the big push going again. But I thought that was going to be kind of like the 200 angle they go with, and then kind of add things on there. But you don't hear anything. So again, by design, maybe let's let it die down, and then we get a big push. But maybe that's why we're here talking about it on a podcast, and they're the ones putting the matches together.
Yeah. So it's been a great year for the UFC, bar none.
Yeah, definitely.
It's never been more relevant than it is right now.
The casual MMA fan, if you look at the last 3 main events, or probably the last 2. You had the 2 big upsets. I'm not referring to the weekend fights, but as far as the big main event cards they had, Rousey lost at home. Aldo lost in 13 seconds. And then your UFC on Fox one, which was just this weekend, was a 66-second main event. And I don't think they lost any steam at all from any of that.
Yeah, and then when you look at the cards coming up, Lawler and Condit, Dillashaw Cruz, like these are big fights. Are they? The problem is, are these kind of champions essentially? Whoever comes out of these, bookable on that 200 card. So I mean, it's a great problem to have, but is it good enough? Like, if you want 200 to be this greatest thing of all time, right? Can you co-main event with TJ Dillashaw, with Dominic Cruz, with Carlos Condit, Lawler? I think you could, either Condit or Lawler, because that's the whole argument. The UFC 189 and UFC 194 kind of setup fights. Where, I mean, for me, I'd love these fights. But we're looking at is you want to bring in the most pay-per-view buys of all time for the UFC. Can the amazing fight between in a division like Lawler Condit, like Lawler McDonald was, is that enough to sell enough pay-per-views? Or will people like you and me be like, oh my God, this is going to be an amazing fight, but like the dude who watches ESPN is going to have no idea what the hell these guys are? Yeah, and if Rousey's going to be it, it's like, oh, I'll just wait for it to come out on Instagram or something stupid like that.
Yeah, no, I think that's what the problem is going to be, get the casual fan, because I think, me and you would be interested in, we look at the fights differently than your casual fan that just knows names.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be their only drawback, depending on how they can book, the MSG going into 200 and things like that going online, because I'm sure there's going to be pay-per-views and UFC on Fox and your Fight Pass cards in between there as well that they're going to have to book as well. I mean, what you got, Sage now just got added to the January
card, yeah.
So, I mean, again, now he's starting to fight more often. He's also stepping up against, more,
talented.
Yeah, and more talented fighters. Now, are you pushing him to try to maybe make him that name too as well for that going on? And then what happens if he has a dud and then you knock that off? I mean, there's so much going on right now. It's a good time to be following the UFC.
Yeah, it's a good issue to have all these potential fights for McGregor. You just got to pick the right one.
Yeah. And you can't let emotion really go over and be the call instead of, making what's a good business decision. You can't just be like, all right, let's give this fight because this is, emotion. They've really got to not take the emotion out of it and let's get what's best for our company.
And then there's the whole Ireland card. Like, McGregor wants to fight at Croke Park. UFC needs to get stuff done to make that happen before they even book the event. Is this if they do get the MSG card, does McGregor fight in the fall in Ireland? And with the time difference, how do you set that up to make that work? And it's a whole big thing. And if you want to make your biggest draw happy at this point, because that's what the UFC is going to have to do, because McGregor is your guy.
Yeah.
As much as they want it or don't, which I think they really want it, but they wanted it a better result against Aldo maybe. Because I still go back and watch those videos and look at the reactions of the Fertittas and Dana White, and like they were happy, but there was like this much work goes into this, and it's a 13-second fight. Imagine if it was the opposite.
No,
and Aldo dropped him in 13 seconds.
Oh my goodness, man! I mean, that's the other thing. I mean, that's when you're saying, have him step up to one, not you per se, but they say have him step up to 155 and things like that. I mean, what happens if he steps up to 155 and he gets just decimated?
I mean, in the way Rafael dos Anjos looks.
I mean, you sit there now. You've built this guy up and all this, and now you just because. I mean, which I understand they want to do, title versus title and all this stuff now, but you can have this guy dominating a division or everybody looking at it going, he's a dominator in this division, and keep, giving him somebody, and hopefully, you get a good fight and this, or you move him up and you don't know what you're going to get. You don't know how he's going to come in.
You got to, in my opinion, you clear out featherweight and then go up.
Yeah.
You beat Frankie and then go up.
Especially when you have such a great opponent lined up for him in that division. It's not like, you're sitting there kind of like where, before
Demetrius Johnson is?
Yeah, well, yeah, that, or before the whole Holly Holm incident happened to Ronda Rousey, you're looking at it going, what does she have left to do? You're not doing that right now. You're going, he has a very viable opponent.
That's a great point.
Edgar's sitting there. So why move him up? Unless he can't make weight or there's a reason there, then I understand that. But to just do it, hey, we want to do a title versus title, or McGregor wants to hold 2 titles in one. Sometimes you got to look at him and say, hey, look, this is what's best for us right now. You win this fight, then we move you up, or we let you go up. But we need this fight first because this makes sense.
Yeah, I think Frankie's the fight. I think it's better off for everybody. Is the way Dos Anjos looked. If I'm the UFC and I move him up to 155 and he gets annihilated, it's the worst possible outcome. Other than, if him and Edgar go at it and Frankie wins in a barn burner fight, it's immediate rematch. You go into the Lions Den, you go into Ireland, you do something crazy.
Yeah, I agree
to make
with that.
that even a bigger fight. Even though he lost, you can still recoup that.
Yeah, as long as it's not a 5-10 second loss or something like that, I think that 100%.
I think you recoup that. I think it's easier to recoup a McGregor loss at featherweight than it is him going up to lightweight, which has been talked about for ages. And his coach saying it's impossible to cut this weight almost at this point. And he wants to move up, and he wants to become a 2-division champion. He wants to do that and hold the belts consecutively and defend both of them and do all this kinds of stuff. For me, I just think it's smarter for him to basically, like you said, cement his legacy. If he beats Frankie, great. If not, you can say the weight cut was too much. We're going up. And that's it.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. But, I don't know. To me, it looked like he came in smaller this fight than he did in his last fight, though.
Yeah, and we don't know.
I think it comes into, look, I understand you're the face of UFC. He's probably got a lot on his plate. He's probably all over the place. But at the same time, you are a professional fighter. This is this is the line of work that you picked, and you are making tons of money off of it. I think he got crazy amount of money the last fight. So, I understand there's the weight cutting and the things like that, but to me, he looked like he came in more shredded this time than in previous fights.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a great problem to have. Don't get me wrong, but they're gonna have to be very smart with the way they book him and the way they kind of move this along, because he is your guy. Yeah. And there's no Ronda Rousey. Not now, at least.
No, not at the moment.
She's not the crossover athlete she was when she was undefeated.
Yep.
Just simply because of the fact that she lost once. She could come back. She could knock out Holly Holm. She could break her arm in the next fight. She can do whatever she wants. And then the Rousey stuff will bounce back up immediately. And you get Rousey home 3, and you can book that easily. And that takes care of itself. But right now, you're relying on this guy, because when you go down the list of champions that have mainstream crossover appeal, and maybe the sport doesn't need it, but it wants it. It wants something like that. It wants Conor McGregor on SportsCenter promoting his latest fight. They want that ESPN mainstream stuff. When you look at it, Fabricio Verdum, Robbie Lawler, Rafael dos Anjos, TJ Dillashaw, Demetrius Johnson, these are the champions. Are they these big time names? No. Should they be? In my mind.
Well, I think they're all very talented fighters, but I think the one thing that they have an issue with is the personality, which is what McGregor has.
Yeah.
And you look at the McGregors, your Rouseys, Cormier sometimes, depending on who the opponent is, he can go. You know,
Cormier and Jones, I think, will be a big push.
Yeah, yeah.
For that fight.
Yeah, and I think that Jones kind of brings that out in Cormier. But when he fights others, he's kind of a little laid back too. You got all these champions that are great fighters, but they're not the talkers that can talk people into the seats, as a great legend used to say.
Yeah, and Rousey said it after her fight, or before her fight, basically foreshadowing what was going to happen. There's more than just fighting when it comes to being the champion and being a draw and being that guy or that girl or whatever. Luke Rockhold, to me, maybe has a little bit of that in him. We don't know. But McGregor's your guy, and if your guy goes down, where do you turn to next is the biggest question. Because, Frankie Edgar, I think, could do it. But Frankie Edgar has been in the game forever. He's 34 years old. He's had the most octagon time of anybody. So, with the absence of that, you have to figure out where you're going to go next. One place that we don't know what the heck is going to happen next is heavyweight, because apparently anyone can literally beat anybody, as we saw with Alistair Overeem knocking out Junior Dos Santos in the second round. Can we just flip coins for these heavyweight fights? Because I have no idea who's going to win any of these anymore.
But
I really don't.
Isn't that what it used to be like in boxing, in heavyweight boxing? Well, not when Tyson was there, but everybody's got a puncher's chance.
Literally.
That's, you're looking to land that haymaker or catch the guy when he least expects it, and the things like that. So I think in the heavyweight division, out of most of them, this is where you have your puncher's chance.
Yeah, and then it's funny, Overeem goes to Jackson Wink, wins 3 fights in a row, including his knockout of Dos Santos on Saturday. He's a free agent, legitimate claim to a title shot. If you can give any heavyweight a title shot, why not Overeem? He holds a victory over Verdum. Fabricio Verdum gets by Cain Velasquez. It's another guy in the heavyweight division where it's like, all right, he could probably get a title shot, which is bad news for Ben Rothwell, who seems to keep losing on all this stuff.
It keeps winning but keeps losing. It's hilarious. But I had a question for you, because at the end of that fight, there was a little bit of, I don't know if you want to call it controversy or whatever, but what do you think of the stoppage?
I thought it was a good stoppage.
Okay.
When you see basically a guy, his eyes kind of roll back and he kind of goes flat, I have no problem with that pretty much at all. What did you think of it?
Well, my whole thing was I thought it was a good stoppage, okay? I thought maybe you'd go differently, so that's why I asked you first. But I thought when he sat up, he had both his hands on the mat. If Overeem was able to tee off on him at that point, that is unnecessary damage that he was going to take. Because Overeem was coming already with him just sitting there with his hands on the mat. He's kind of sitting there. I think it was a good stoppage.
Yeah, I'm watching it back right now. And when he lands this hook, essentially, he throws that left hook, he goes down, his hands are kind of out, and he's kind of pushing off of him. It could have been considered quick. You could say it's quick, because as soon as he was down and out and he had his hands palms open, it's a very dangerous stuff. And Overeem immediately throws that first hammer fist, and the ref comes in.
Yep. And then he sits up, and then he starts sitting up, right?
Yeah.
And then right there, Overeem's right there in position where he could just start throwing, to me, haymakers. And I just think, but then when you look back at the Weidman fight with Rockhold, you're like, I don't know. Again, it's the refs, and they have a very tough situation. But I thought it was a good stoppage.
I thought the stoppage is defensible. I thought it was not controversial, in my opinion. And especially after seeing what happened with the Rockhold-Weidman fight, and we've seen it with guys, you take years off a career taking that kind of unnecessary punishment.
Yeah.
And JDS can easily take on the loser of Miocic Jarlovsky, win, and get back. This is the way the heavyweight division works. You can easily move around and fight these guys, and you have a tremendous performance, and bam, you're in.
Yeah, you're right back up top. Yep.
because there's no dominant figure. I mean, unless Verdum starts going on a tear, and if so, I mean, he's a very unique kind of fighter. I always go back to the fact when he was just laying on the ground in Mexico City saying, like, come on, dive on top of me. Let's go to the ground against Cain Velasquez. And Velasquez was dumb enough after the third time. And I'm telling you, man, there's an epidemic of stupidity with these champions right now. I don't know what it is. And we've seen it with Rousey. We've seen it with Weidman. Just like this little blip of a moment, like, oh, let me try that. And it just stick to what you know.
Yeah.
Do what you want. Like, I mean, Aldo, the same kind of thing. I don't know where it's coming from. And maybe it's the added pressure. Maybe it's being the champion. But
well, I think it's added pressure, and also I think it's depending on your opponent. I mean, I think some of these guys, not that all of them are talkers like McGregor, but I think they know a way to play mind games and how to get these guys. I don't say questioning, but they like challenge them while they're in the ring, and then after a while they're like, you know what, this guy wants it, I'm going to give it to him, and then it's like, wait a minute, why'd I do that? I just think
jumping into the trap.
Yeah, man, I just think they just automatically after a while, it's mind games. You know, you got to go in there with that game plan, and you got to execute it flawlessly. And some of these guys think they're just going to go in and I'm gonna knock him out because of all he's been talking, and you see what happens.
It's like, I mean, when somebody talks a lot, you want to hit them.
I mean, I think that's what happened with Johnson and Diaz. I mean, when you looked at it, I mean, I know Johnson's pretty much a boxer, but I mean, he just went in throwing punches, and Diaz just tagged him every time. Little combos, bam, 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 and out. And then Johnson came swinging wildly, and Diaz with another combo, and he just all fight long.
Yeah.
Antagonized them, everything. I mean, it was... I mean, there's a line between arrogance and confidence, and Diaz was tiptoeing it the whole fight.
He did it well. I mean, that's what they're good at.
Yep.
I mean...
And Johnson just kept falling for the same stuff. It just... I don't know, man. I don't know.
And Johnson, after that Dariush fight where he won it, but didn't, win it, it kind of gets into your head. The guys get desperate. And that's why I was worried about Rockhold going against Weidman, but in fact... They flipped the script on us. Desperation could be your best friend or your worst enemy going into a fight. If you're desperate, you're completely focused and zeroed in on what you want to do. But if you're desperate, you might try something that won't work. And you'll take that risk, and you'll get clocked. You'll get caught. Something along those lines will happen to basically ruin your day. And I mean, and
Chris Weidman, fight after fight.
It's you're fighting a fight within a fight with yourself to just make sure you stay low, you stay in tune with what you want to do. And it's tough. I mean, it's why these are the greatest athletes in all the world. I mean, the amount of time, effort, athleticism, strength, speed, agility, all of these things wrapped into one package.
Yeah. A lot of people think it's just physical, and it's not. There's a big mental aspect to this as well.
Yeah. I mean, and when you see guys like Yoel Romero, who looks like a walking tank, gas 1.5 rounds in, you go, wait, wasn't that guy an Olympic wrestler? How hard could he, like, this is what this sport is. It's so much needs to go right for you to do well. And it's why we should have an appreciation for the people who do stay at the top for as long as they do.
Yeah, and honestly, I think you should have, I mean, I know we do, but I think everyone that steps in there for what I mean, yeah, you got these guys that are coming up right now. But, I mean, when you start looking at some of these guys are starting when they're, fighting professionally when they're probably 18, 19, but they're also learning this craft way before that. Mm-hmm. And it's just, I mean... It's not anymore like back in my day. It was, hey, I want to go to karate class or whatever. That's not. I don't even think there might be a few karate, but most of them now are teaching the whole art of MMA.
Yeah, and just to add some more credence to the fact that how tough this is. If you go down the champions list, Holly Holm's brand new. Joanna Jędrzejczyk's had the belt for a little while. Verdum's this year. Cormier is essentially this year. Rockhold is this year. Robbie Lawler has had, 2 title defenses at this point?
Yeah.
Dos Anjos has been champ for a couple fights now. McGregor's brand new. Dillashaw's brand new. Demetrius Johnson is essentially the only guy who's held a belt for more than a couple years at this point.
Yeah. Yep.
It just goes to show how tough it is to keep churning through the ranks.
Yeah.
And the UFC's problem of the reason why we don't have these dominant stars that like grace all these posters and grace ESPN, CBS, NBC, like because they're not around long enough.
No, I mean,
They get knocked off the perch.
this is just, I mean, you take Rousey for an example, you know, I mean, what happened with her? And McGregor, I mean, the same thing can happen that quickly with McGregor. I mean,
And John Jones did it to himself.
yeah, I mean, yeah, that's the other. I mean, but when you start looking at these guys, UFC, I mean, they're just rolling the dice on these guys. They're like, okay, I think he's the guy. Okay, all right, let's go with it. Let's go with it. All right, he's winning. All right, good to go with like McGregor. I mean, they keep rolling the dice with him, and it's you know turning up winners every time right now. And you know Rousey, they had that one fight there, but again, you know, when you said it a little bit ago earlier in the podcast, you're like maybe that's by design. Maybe it is because now all the focus is off Rousey right now. Nobody's talking about her loss anymore. If you look at it now, I mean it's you know it's like oh okay she's finally back in herself and. You know, and things like that. So maybe by design that was for that, so they can start building that back up. You know, everybody forgets about her now. Okay, bam, now here we go. We start building it back up because marketing wise for these guys, as you just said, one fight does not really. I don't think will cost a fighter his marketability depending on how they lose. I mean, I think Aldo would be very hard to market if again right now today. A couple months from now. Maybe, you know, you get it back and it's the redemption or, you know, you can figure a way to market it back in there if they had to. But with the role McGregor's on and everything else, as you said, I think he clears out his division, keep him there as, you know, the Godzilla of the division right now until something happens. And then when it happens, if he loses or something, then you can make that decision, okay, he's going to move up.
Yeah, it's the fondness of the return aspect. We see it in boxing when guys come out of retirement. It's like, oh, okay. I mean, it's the premise of half of the Rocky movies. Like, a guy comes out of retirement, and then people start getting behind. Like, they're irrelevant.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, bang, they're back into the public eye. And it's like, okay, you're starting to build. That's the way you build up these fighters. It's why people love wrestling shocking returns. Why people love the Royal Rumble when like guys show up that haven't been on TV in like 5 years and they come in, they're there for 10 minutes, but for those 10 minutes, oh my God, this is insane. The crowd's eating it up.
Yep.
When you put these guys out and then you throw them back into the public eye, it's like, oh yeah, it's nostalgia. I remember how awesome this felt. It's why we love Star Wars, for example. Like people didn't care about Star Wars until like with all the way the movies, with all the new movies kind of sucked all the life out of the thing, and then Disney buys a property like that and shoots it right up again. Everyone gets nostalgic. It makes the most money of any movie ever in its first weekend. It's the nostalgia factor, and it's the way you just have to kind of gauge interest. And if there's nothing now, you pull these fighters out, and then you thrust them back into the spotlight when you know it's time. Because you'll know when the world is ready for Ronda Rousey again.
Yep.
You'll know when the fight world is ready for Jose Aldo. What you do is you take Aldo, he kind of goes under the radar, you let him recuperate from this stinging, psychologically damaging loss.
Yeah.
And you put him up in 6-8 months against somebody who you know is going to give it a good fight. But if he's Jose Aldo, he's the 10-year undefeated streak. He's the champion, the first ever featherweight champion. He's going to go out there, beat the living hell out of whoever he fights next, and be like, I'm here. I want my belt back. And that's how you do it.
No, I agree 100%. The only thing where I think UFC may be missing the boat on is I think they got to put some spotlight on some of these other champions. I'm not saying give them that ring like you've given McGregor, but you got to start getting – you can't just wait till they're about to fight to throw them out there and think that everybody's going to know who these guys are in 30 days. I think they got to put – you know, like Home wins. She went on that mass media blitz for a week or two, and now, boom, off the radar. You know what I'm saying? You got to figure out a way to – I'm not saying it's got to be even, but I think you got to get something out there where you know who at least the champions are, or if you think it's going to be a Sage Northcutt or whatever. But I think more people probably know Sage Northcutt than they know T.J. Dillashaw, or they know some of these other guys.
I would not be shocked.
And he's not even your champion.
and Sage Northcutt is probably number 80 on the list of lightweights going up. Like, I mean, fighters are complaining that Sage Northcutt got paid $40,000 for his spot on the Cosmopolitan card, but people know who Sage Northcutt is.
Yeah.
He's 19 years old. He looks like a pretty boy. You want to punch him in the face, but he's got 70+ karate medals. He was in a freaking Star Wars commercial, which he tweeted out last week, which you can see on the latest Punchline on our website. Like, people just know who he is. And if you market yourself, or if you get the UFC to market yourself, which is what Northcutt has had done, and you can turn yourself into this too. That's what McGregor did.
Yeah, no, definitely. Look at Chael Sonnen. Chael Sonnen. I mean, if you can't tell that you can't get yourself, I mean, I use him all the time, but look at how he marketed himself. I mean, he didn't. Yeah. That wasn't pushed by UFC.
Hell no. The UFC didn't want him as a champion.
No. That was all him. People wouldn't know who he is. I mean, what did he do in the UFC? Honestly, I don't even think he had a winning record. Did he?
Chael Sonnen did a lot of talking.
No, exactly. He promoted himself. Some of these guys, I mean, it doesn't all fall on the UFC, but I think the UFC's got to take a little bit of thing and say, hey, look, this is what we need to do. They got to get more champions out there. I mean, I just think that, you don't know half your champions, who they are. I mean, you know the challengers more than you know the champions.
Yeah, and it's on the UFC to kind of build up these other guys. While you have McGregor soaking up the limelight, essentially.
Yep.
You talk about these other fighters. I mean, hell, you ask McGregor about these other guys. Because in that Go Big event that they had, what happened? McGregor took over everybody and said, I'm going to fight you. I'm going to kick your ass. I'm going to kick your ass. I'm going to do all of this. Guys start talking back. Cowboy was one of the only guys that started talking back. The way you fight fire with fire,
mm-hmm.
and you create this blazing inferno of this like energy and this excitement around whatever fight this is. And I think that's why Edgar McGregor is the next fight. To kind of round off my point here, because Frankie can come back and say these things.
Mm-hmm.
Frankie has that personality where, all right, you're going to talk a bunch of crap. I'm going to say this. I'm going to be smart. Dos Anjos, I don't know if that's the biggest fight right now. I mean, it's champion versus champion. I get that. But from an aspect of clear out 145, Frankie Edgar's a legend in this division. He's a legend, plain and simple. He's been a champion in another division. And then he's got this same goal as McGregor has. For Frankie to be, Frankie was champion at 155. He was the guy. And now, what is he going to do next? Is he going to become champion at 145? Can he be a 2-division champion? People are leaving that out. So it's a very interesting. And just to go back to your Chael Sonnen thing, he's 28, 29, 14, and 1.
Wow.
But when you look at the guys he's been able to look at his opponents that he's fought, and it's kind of been hit or miss. I mean, he lost to Anderson Silva twice. Obviously, he lost to John Jones. He beat Shogun, who he lost to Rashad Evans. He beat Michael Bisping. He beat Brian Stan. But all those names, you know Brian Stan. You know Michael Bisping.
Yep.
You know Anderson Silva. You know John Jones. You know Shogun. You know Rashad Evans. Why is he getting those fights? Did he deserve those fights? No. But he was able to sell those fights. You can be the greatest fighter in the world, but if you can't talk your way out of a paper bag, you're not going to get anywhere here.
Yep.
What were you saying?
No, I say, yeah, no, you're 100% correct. I mean, it's, they say the same thing in, and we do a lot of this, but in pro wrestling, you can have the physique of a god, you can wrestle like you can wrestle a broom, but if you can't talk, you're pretty much, you got to have all three. You got to be the package.
Mm-hmm. They can only book you so far.
Yeah, I mean, they can only do so much with you. Yep.
All right. But, it will be very exciting. The new year kicks off immediately for the UFC, January 2nd. With
Wasting no
Condit,
time.
Lawler, which, I mean, it's just never going to stop. We're just going to have great fights for the rest of our lives. Is this how it's going to happen? Because I would love this to be the case.
Yeah, we can only hope so. I mean, it doesn't look like there's going to be much drop-off.
Mm-hmm. And before we get out of here, I wanted to ask you, what did you think of the three-man booth with Dominic Cruz joining Joe Rogan and Goldberg?
I liked it, man. I think it added a little bit. I mean, I like more color than the play-by-play. I like understanding why certain things are being done, certain moves, because look, I'm still learning a lot about this sport. There's sometimes where I'm like, why don't they do this or why don't they do that? And when you start listening to some of the insight and things like that, I mean, for the whole 66 seconds that we got to hear it, by the way, but
yeah,
I mean, I think when they do the three-man boosts, I just think it adds more insight, because sometimes you get so stuck on hearing the same thing over and over. I think it gives that fresh feel.
And then, kind of Rogan goes into play-by-play sometimes at certain points. So he's locking in the Darce choke. He's locking in a Kimura.
Yep.
I'd love to have that kind of like if Goldberg calls the fight, and you can say what you like about him, whether he's good or not. All I know is when he called the Vikings-Lions game once for Fox, it was an absolute disaster.
Oh.
Yeah. But I mean, he's what he is. It's like he's been the voice of the UFC forever.
Yep.
So I've got no problem. He's not an elite broadcaster. He's not like this amazing broadcaster, but he is what he is. Joe Rogan, I think, is fantastic at when people thought it was Joe Rogan, like when you see that name, people think of Fear Factor before they think of anything else.
Yeah.
Especially the casual fans. But when you listen to Rogan, he's so technical and can break things down. But having another voice like that in there, if you took a Cormier, if you took a Dominic Cruz, you take a Bisping, a Brian Stan, and you're taking these talents that they've cultivated on Fox. And it's amazing. Watching UFC tonight now and compared to 6 months ago, it's like night and day. When you have like two fighters, it's like when I first started watching that show, when Fox Sports 1 started putting this out, it's like, okay, it kind of looks a little stunted. They don't know what they're doing yet, but it kind of worked into it. And these guys are broadcast personalities that you can trust. Like, I want to listen to Kenny Florian in the booth. I want to listen to Cormier. I want to listen to Bisping, Dominic Cruz. I have no and then Ariel Helwani's done a great job as basically essentially the sideline reporter. They can develop this kind of thing, and they can find their sweet spot. And if you don't overexpose guys, Cruz, like a month before his fight, is doing stuff in the booth. It's perfect promotion because you can talk to him about his fight in between, and you can sell the fight that way. So somebody you're seeing more people on the Fox card, obviously, because national televised event. It's like, oh hey, Dominic Cruz, who's this guy? He's fighting Fox Sports 1 next month. Oh yeah, I'll check that out. And you can kind of slowly build up that way. It can be used not only for to benefit your broadcast, but to benefit your fighters in a long-term aspect.
Yeah, and I mean, every other sport does it as well. I mean, when you look at you look at NFL broadcasts these days, look at who most of the color commentators are.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all former players now. I mean, I don't think there's one booth that doesn't have a former player somewhere on it. I mean, even some players that probably you don't even know that were players that, maybe just didn't have that NFL career or whatever. There they sit. And I think the same thing can happen here. I think you can, I think I like Joe Rogan maybe differently from you because I like how he lets some of his emotion go when the fight's going. All of a sudden, you hear, oh,
yeah, it's the fight.
Yeah, he's into it. It's like he's just like into it, and it just you feel. I think that radiates in the field. It's not that like, oh, here's a punch, here's a throw. It radiates and it adds to the broadcast.
Yeah, it'll be fun. And then we'll talk about 195 next week on the podcast in depth, but it's been a terrific year for the UFC, and hopefully it can carry on through the new year, because gets bigger and bigger, we'll have more stuff to talk about. We'll have more stuff that you can read on thefullmountmma.com. You can follow us on Twitter at thefullmount, at decoy11, at SS Sports Talk. Sean, you got anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think that's about it, man. We kind of hammered home this card.
Oh yeah, I mean, and it's just by the time we posted this, I think 3 more fighters will call out Conor McGregor. So we'll have plenty more to talk about next week.
And probably some that aren't even fighting yet. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I've thought about calling out Conor McGregor at a certain point, but I mean, everyone else is doing it, so I don't want to,
I thought about it, but then I'm worried that, hey, what if he does show up?
Yeah, what actually happens when he does answer that call? Because apparently...
Because mine will be the one that he answers.
Yeah. See, I can make money off of that fight. I can easily do that. I mean, he responded on Twitter, basically, line him up. Get on your knees and line him up if you want these fights. Which, I mean, he's in a position to do that. Love him or hate him, he's in a position to do it. So we'll preview UFC 195. We'll talk about the January cards. Maybe we can have more news. Maybe we'll find out what McGregor's next move is. Maybe, like we said, a couple more fighters might call him out. We'll have plenty more to talk about on next week's edition of TFM Live. So thank you guys for listening. Have a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays, and we'll be back next week.
The TFM Live podcast is brought to you by thefullmountmma.com. Check us out on Twitter at thefullmount.